Mom, you ruined everything. Sarah screamed into the phone, her voice cracking with rage. How could you sell my wedding dress? That was supposed to be my something old. But as I sat in my quiet kitchen, holding the phone away from my ear, all I could think was, you didn't invite me to your wedding, sweetheart. What did you expect? I'm Margaret Chen, 62 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I thought I was going to be the mother of the bride. For 34 years, I raised Sarah as a single mother after her father walked out when she was 2. I worked double shifts as a nurse, saved every penny I could, and dreamed of the day I'd help her plan her wedding. I even kept my own wedding dress from 1987 in pristine condition, wrapped in acid-free tissue paper, waiting for the moment she might want to wear it or use the silk for her own gown. That moment never came. But let me back up. You need to understand what Sarah and I were to each other before everything fell apart. We weren't just mother and daughter. We were a team, a unit, 2 against the world. When her father left, taking half our savings and leaving us in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment, I made her a promise. I told her that we would be okay, that I would make sure she had everything she needed, that his leaving wouldn't define our lives. And I kept that promise. God, how I kept it. The betrayal arrived on a Tuesday morning through social media, of all places. I was scrolling through Facebook with my morning coffee when I saw the photos. Sarah in a flowing white gown, radiant and beautiful, standing next to Marcus in what looked like a beach ceremony in Hawaii. The caption read, "Just married, intimate ceremony with our closest family and friends. So grateful for everyone who made this day perfect." My coffee cup slipped from my hand, shattering on the kitchen floor. Brown liquid spread across the tiles, but I couldn't move. I just stared at the screen, scrolling through image after image of a wedding I knew nothing about. There was Sarah laughing as Marcus dipped her for a kiss. There she was, cutting a 3-tiered cake decorated with tropical flowers. There she was, dancing with her father, the man who hadn't paid child support in over 20 years, who had missed every birthday, every graduation, every important moment of her life. But somehow, he merited an invitation to walk her down the aisle. And there was Marcus's mother, Linda, in every other photo. Linda adjusting Sarah's veil, Linda wiping away tears during the ceremony, Linda embracing Sarah like she was her own daughter, Linda whom I'd met exactly 3 times and who had always treated me with the kind of cool politeness reserved for service workers and distant acquaintances. I scrolled through 67 photos. Not one of them mentioned me. Not one caption thanked me or acknowledged my absence. It was as if I had never existed, as if Sarah had sprung fully formed into the world without a mother who had raised her. My hands trembled as I picked up my phone and called her. It rang 4 times before she answered. "Mom, hey, I was going to call you." "Sarah, honey, I just saw the photos." "You got married?" There was a long pause. I could hear ocean waves in the background, the distant sound of laughter. She was still on her honeymoon, still in paradise, while I was standing in my kitchen with broken ceramic at my feet and my heart in pieces. "Mom, I can explain." "Explain what?" "That you got married without telling me? That I found out through Facebook like some stranger?" Her voice turned defensive, cold in a way I'd never heard before. "It was a small ceremony, Mom. Very intimate. We didn't want any drama." "Drama? What drama would I have caused?" Another pause, longer this time. "Linda thought it would be better if we kept it simple. Just immediate family." The words hit me like a slap. "I am your immediate family, Sarah. I'm your mother. I'm the only parent who's been there for you since you were 2 years old." "You know what I mean." Her voice had that edge to it, that tone she used when she'd already made up her mind and didn't want to be challenged. "No, I don't know what you mean." "Explain it to me." "Mom, I don't want to do this right now. I'm on my honeymoon. Can we talk about this when I get back? When were you planning to tell me? Or were you just going to let me find out through social media? I have to go. Marcus is waiting for me. We'll talk later. She hung up. I stood there in my kitchen, phone in hand, coffee soaking into my slippers, and I couldn't breathe. The pain was physical, a crushing weight on my chest that made me wonder if I was having a heart attack. I had to sit down on the floor, right there among the broken pieces of my favorite mug, and just breathe. Investigation, 3 to 10 minutes. For 3 days, I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I kept staring at those wedding photos, trying to understand how my daughter, my baby girl, could have excluded me so completely. I analyzed every image, looking for clues, for some explanation that would make sense of this betrayal. I noticed things, small things that added up to a devastating picture. Sarah's dress was expensive, probably $5,000 or $6,000. The venue looked like a luxury resort. There were at least 40 guests in the group photos. So this wasn't the tiny, intimate ceremony she'd described. This was a full wedding, carefully planned and executed. They'd even had a videographer. I could see him in the background of several shots. This hadn't been a spontaneous elopement. This had been months in the planning. On the 4th day, my sister Janet called. "Maggie, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice careful in that way people use when they're about to deliver bad news. "I ran into Linda Morrison at the grocery store yesterday." Linda Morrison was Marcus's mother, and Janet had met her at a few family gatherings before Sarah and Marcus got engaged. She was bragging about the wedding, about how beautiful it was, how perfect everything turned out. She showed me pictures on her phone. Maggie, there must have been 100 of them. She went on and on about the planning, the details, how she and Sarah had been working on it for 8 months. 8 months. They'd been planning this for 8 months, and I'd known nothing. But then she said something that made my blood boil, Janet continued. She said, and I quote, "We finally got Sarah away from that controlling mother of hers. The girl deserves a fresh start without all that baggage." The words hit me like a physical blow. I had to sit down. She said that? Word for word. And Maggie, the way she said it, she was proud, like she'd accomplished something important by cutting you out. Controlling? Baggage? Janet, I worked myself to the bone for that girl. I worked nights so I could be home during the day when she was little. I drove her to every soccer practice, every piano lesson, every school event. I helped her with her homework, taught her to drive, co-signed her student loans. I celebrated every achievement and comforted every disappointment. How is any of that controlling? I know, honey. I know, but there's more. My stomach dropped. What else? She said they deliberately chose Hawaii because they knew you couldn't afford to go, even if you were invited. She called it natural selection. She said, if Margaret really wanted to be there, she would have found a way, like it was some kind of test you failed. I felt sick. A test? They set me up to fail? That's not all. She also mentioned that Sarah's father contributed $10,000 toward the wedding. She made a big deal about how generous he was, how he really stepped up for his daughter. She said, "It's nice that Sarah finally has a father figure who can provide for her." I hung up the phone and sat in my kitchen, staring at the refrigerator covered with photos of Sarah and me through the years. Her first day of school, wearing the backpack I'd saved for 3 months to buy. Her high school graduation, where she'd thanked me in her valedictorian speech for being her hero. Her nursing school pinning ceremony, where she'd cried and told me she couldn't have done it without me. In every photo, it was just the two of us. We had been a team. We had been everything to each other, or so I thought. That evening, I did something I'm not proud of. I went through Sarah's old emails. She'd left her laptop at my house months ago, saying she didn't need it anymore since Marcus had bought her a new one. I'd kept it in her old room, thinking she might want it back someday. I opened it and her email was still logged in. I know I shouldn't have looked. I know it was an invasion of privacy, but I needed to understand. I needed to know how this had happened, how the daughter I'd raised had become someone who could exclude me so completely. The emails told the story I'd been dreading. The earliest one I found was from 10 months ago, from Linda to Sarah. Sweetheart, I've been thinking about your wedding and I have some thoughts I wanted to share. I know your mother has certain expectations, but this is your day, not hers. You shouldn't feel obligated to include anyone who might bring negative energy or make the day about themselves. Marcus and I have discussed it, and we'd be happy to cover the costs of a destination wedding, somewhere beautiful and intimate, just for the people who truly support your marriage. Sarah's response, Linda, that's so generous. I've been worried about how to handle Mom. She can be so overwhelming sometimes, and I know she'll want to control everything. A destination wedding might be the perfect solution. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Overwhelming? Controlling? When had I ever tried to control her life? I kept reading, watching the plan unfold over months of emails. Linda suggesting Hawaii, Linda recommending vendors, Linda offering to pay for Sarah's dress if they went shopping together, just the two of them. Linda slowly, methodically, inserting herself into every aspect of the wedding planning, while simultaneously suggesting that my involvement would be stressful and dramatic. And Sarah, my daughter, had gone along with it. More than that, she'd embraced it. In one email from 6 months ago, Sarah wrote to a friend, I know it sounds terrible, but I'm actually relieved Mom won't be at the wedding. Linda's been so amazing through all of this, and she doesn't come with all the guilt and expectations. She just wants me to be happy. It's refreshing to have a mother figure who doesn't make everything about her sacrifices. I closed the laptop and cried, not the quiet, dignified tears of grief, but the ugly, gasping sobs of someone whose heart has been shattered. I cried for the daughter I thought I knew. I cried for the relationship I thought we had. I cried for every sacrifice I'd made that she now saw as manipulation. But most of all, I cried because I realized that Linda hadn't stolen my daughter. Sarah had chosen to leave. The next morning I woke up with swollen eyes and a strange sense of clarity. The grief was still there, a constant ache in my chest, but underneath it was something else. Anger, not the hot, explosive kind, but the cold, calculating kind that comes from betrayal. I made coffee and sat down with a notebook. I started writing down everything I'd given Sarah over the years, not to be petty, but because I needed to see it, to quantify what our relationship had meant in concrete terms. The list grew longer than I expected. I'd paid for her braces, $4,000. Her first car, $8,000, used but reliable. Her college tuition. I'd taken out a second mortgage on my house to cover what scholarships didn't, roughly $60,000 over 4 years. Her nursing school, another $40,000. The security deposit on her first apartment, $2,000. Furniture for that apartment, $3,000. Her laptop, her phone, countless smaller gifts over the years. But it wasn't just money. I calculated the hours, the nights I'd worked double shifts so I could be home during the day, the weekends I'd spent driving her to activities, the vacations I'd never taken because every spare dollar went to her needs, the relationships I'd never pursued because I was too busy being her mother. I'd given her 34 years of my life, and she'd given me a Facebook announcement. That afternoon, I went to Sarah's old room, which I'd kept exactly as she'd left it when she moved in with Marcus 2 years ago. Her childhood books were still on the shelves. The entire Harry Potter series in hardcover, first editions I'd stood in line at midnight to buy for her. Her high school trophies were still displayed on the dresser. soccer, debate team, academic achievement, and in the closet, carefully preserved in a special garment bag, was my wedding dress. I pulled it out and held it up to the light streaming through the window. The silk was still perfect, the color a soft ivory that had aged beautifully. The beadwork was intricate, hand-sewn by my mother in the weeks before my wedding. Each tiny pearl and crystal had been placed with love, creating patterns that caught the light like stars. I had always imagined Sarah wearing it. We had talked about it when she was younger, how we would modify it together, take it to a seamstress who could update the style while preserving the essence. We'd planned to make it uniquely hers while honoring our family history, connecting 3 generations of women. But she had chosen a different dress, a different family, a different life, one that didn't include me. As I was folding the dress back into its preservation box, something crinkled in the bodice. I reached inside and found an envelope I'd forgotten about, a letter I'd written to Sarah on her 16th birthday, meant to be opened on her wedding day. With shaking hands, I opened it and read my own words from 18 years ago. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, it means you're about to marry the love of your life, and I couldn't be happier for you. This dress represents the beginning of my adult life, the day I promised to love your father forever. That promise didn't last, but it gave me you, and you have been the greatest joy of my life. I hope this dress brings you the same happiness it brought me on my wedding day. And I hope that when you wear it, you'll remember how much your mother loves you. You are my heart walking around outside my body, and I am so proud of the woman you've become. Thank you for being my daughter. Thank you for being my reason to keep going when everything else fell apart. I love you more than words can express. Love always, Mom. I sat on her bed and cried for an hour, clutching the letter to my chest. The woman who had written those words seemed like a stranger to me now, naive, trusting, believing that love was enough to keep people close. When the tears finally stopped, I made a decision. I carefully folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. Then I placed it on Sarah's pillow, where she would find it if she ever came back to this room. But the dress? The dress was coming with me. Reversal, 15 to 25 minutes. The next morning, I took the wedding dress to Vintage Treasures, an upscale consignment shop downtown that specialized in designer and vintage pieces. I'd been there before, browsing on my lunch breaks, admiring the beautiful clothes I could never afford. The owner, Mrs. Patterson, was an elegant woman in her 70s with silver hair and kind eyes. She looked up when I entered, and her face lit up with recognition. "Margaret! How lovely to see you. What brings you in today?" I held up the garment bag. "I have something I'd like to sell." She gestured to the counter, and I carefully unzipped the bag, revealing the dress. Mrs. Patterson's eyes widened. "Oh my," she breathed, reaching out to touch the silk with reverent fingers. "This is exquisite. May I?" I nodded, and she lifted the dress from the bag, examining it with the practiced eye of someone who knew quality when she saw it. "This is hand-beaded, isn't it? And the silk is... My goodness, this is genuine Dupioni silk. You don't see this quality anymore. The construction is impeccable." She turned it carefully, studying the seams, the lining, the delicate buttons down the back. "This is a work of art. When was it made?" 1987. My mother did the beadwork." Mrs. Patterson looked at me with new understanding. "This is your wedding dress." "It was supposed to be my daughter's." She didn't ask for details, and I was grateful for that. She simply nodded and continued her examination. "The condition is remarkable. You've preserved it beautifully. I could easily get $2,000 for this, maybe $2,500 to the right buyer." Vintage wedding dresses are very popular right now, especially ones with this kind of craftsmanship and history. "Sell it," I said. "Are you absolutely sure? This is clearly a family heirloom." It was supposed to be. Mrs. Patterson studied my face for a long moment, then nodded. I'll draw up the consignment papers. My standard commission is 30%, but for a piece like this, I'm willing to go down to 25. You deserve to get as much as possible for it. As she prepared the paperwork, I felt a strange sense of lightness, as if I'd set down a burden I'd been carrying for years. This dress had represented so many things: my marriage, my hopes, my dreams for Sarah's future. But those dreams were dead now, and there was no point in preserving a symbol of something that would never happen. "There's one thing I'd like to request," I said, as Mrs. Patterson handed me the papers to sign. "When you sell it, I'd like to know who buys it. I'd like to know it's going to someone who will appreciate it." "Of course, I'll make sure of it." I left the shop feeling lighter than I had in days, but I wasn't done. I went home and began going through Sarah's room systematically. The jewelry I'd given her over the years, the pearl earrings for her sweet 16, the gold bracelet for high school graduation, the diamond pendant for her 21st birthday, the sapphire ring for finishing nursing school. All of it went into a box. The expensive textbooks I'd bought for her nursing program, barely used and worth hundreds of dollars, into another box. The designer handbags she'd left behind, gifts from Christmases and birthdays, the electronics, an iPad, a Kindle, expensive headphones, the furniture I'd bought for her first apartment, a desk, a bookshelf, a dresser. Everything I had given her, everything I had bought for her, everything that represented my investment in her life. I gathered it all. Then I took photos of everything, detailed photos, with notes about when I'd given each item, how much it had cost, what occasion it had marked. I created a spreadsheet documenting 34 years of gifts, sacrifices, and love. The total came to over $200,000, not counting the countless hours, the missed opportunities, the pieces of my own life I'd given up to ensure she had everything she needed. Then I called a lawyer. "I want to know about gifts," I told him. "If I give someone gifts over the years and they cut me out of their life, can I ask for them back?" The lawyer, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, no relation, listened carefully as I explained the situation. "This is complicated," she said. "Generally speaking, gifts are gifts. Once you give something to someone, it's theirs. However, there are exceptions. Conditional gifts, for example, presents given with the expectation of an ongoing relationship or a specific purpose. Engagement rings are the classic example. If the engagement is broken, the ring typically goes back to the giver." "What about a wedding dress?" "One that was specifically preserved for a daughter's wedding, but she got married without inviting me?" Patricia was quiet for a moment. "That's interesting. If you can prove it was given specifically for her wedding and she used it for a wedding you were deliberately excluded from, you might have grounds for replevin, legal recovery of property. But honestly, Margaret, the legal route is expensive and emotionally draining. Is that really what you want?" "No," I admitted. "I don't want to go to court. I just want to understand my options." "My advice? You have every right to reclaim items that are still in your possession. Things she left at your house, for example. Legally, if she abandoned them, they're yours to dispose of as you see fit. As for the wedding dress, if it's still in your possession and was never formally given to her, it's still your property." "What if I sell it?" "Then you sell it. It's yours." After I hung up, I sat with this information for a long time. I could take the legal route, drag Sarah through court, force her to confront what she'd done. But that wasn't who I was. I didn't want revenge. I wanted something else. I wanted her to understand what she'd thrown away. The wedding dress sold within a week. Mrs. Patterson called me on a Thursday afternoon, her voice warm with excitement. "Margaret, I have wonderful news. The dress sold, and I think you'll be pleased with who bought it." "Tell me." "A young woman named Emily Chen, another Chen. She came in with her aunt looking for a vintage dress. Her mother died of cancer last year and she wanted something with history, something that felt like it carried a mother's love. When she saw your dress, she started crying. She said it felt like her mother was with her. My own eyes filled with tears. Did she try it on? She did, and Margaret, it fit her perfectly, like it was made for her. She kept saying, "This is the one. This is my dress." Her aunt was crying, I was crying. It was quite a scene. Mrs. Patterson laughed softly. She paid the full asking price without negotiation, $2,200. After my commission, you'll get $1,650. That's wonderful. Thank you for telling me. There's more. Emily asked if she could write you a letter. She wanted to thank you for letting the dress go, for giving her this gift. I have her contact information if you'd like to respond. I'd like that very much. When I picked up the check and Emily's letter the next day, I sat in my car in the parking lot and read it. Dear Mrs. Chen, I don't know you, but I feel like I do. When I put on your wedding dress, I felt surrounded by love. Your love for your daughter, your mother's love in every bead she sewed, the love of all the women who came before us. My mother died 14 months ago and I've been lost without her. Planning my wedding without her has been the hardest thing I've ever done. But when I found your dress, something shifted. I felt like I'd been given a gift, not just a beautiful gown, but a connection to the kind of mother-daughter love I thought I'd lost forever. Thank you for letting it go. Thank you for allowing it to be part of my story. I promise to honor it and the love it represents. With gratitude, Emily. I cried in that parking lot for 20 minutes. Then I went home and started selling everything else. The jewelry went to a local pawn shop. The owner, a kind man named Mr. Goldstein, examined each piece carefully. These are quality pieces, he said. The pearls alone are worth $800. The diamond pendant, probably $1,200. Altogether, I can give you $3,000. Sold. The textbooks went to nursing students who couldn't afford new ones. I posted them on a Facebook group for Sarah's nursing school, offering them at half price. They sold within hours, and the students who bought them sent me grateful messages about how much the savings meant to them. The handbags and electronics went to a women's shelter. The director, a woman named Rosa, was overwhelmed. These are designer bags, she said, examining a Coach purse Sarah had left behind. Our clients can sell these, use the money for deposits on apartments, for work clothes, for their kids. This is incredibly generous. They were just sitting in a closet, I said. They should go to someone who needs them. The furniture was trickier. I couldn't move it myself, so I hired a service to pick it up and deliver it to Habitat for Humanity. The desk, the bookshelf, the dresser, all of it went to families who were rebuilding their lives. Every single item I had given Sarah over the years, I sold or donated, and I kept meticulous records of everything. Photos, receipts, donation forms, the names of the people who bought or received each item. Finally, when Sarah's room was empty, except for the letter I'd left on her pillow, I sat down and wrote her a letter of my own. Dear Sarah, I hope your honeymoon was everything you dreamed it would be. I saw the photos on Facebook. You looked beautiful, and I'm genuinely happy that you found love. I wanted to let you know that I've sold the wedding dress. I know you're upset about this, based on the voicemail you left, but I thought you should understand why. For 34 years, I believed we were building something together. Every gift I gave you, every sacrifice I made, every dollar I spent on your education and your dreams, I thought it was an investment in our relationship, in our family. I thought that when your wedding day came, we would share it together. I imagined us crying together as you tried on dresses, laughing as we addressed invitations, dancing together at your reception. But you made it clear that I'm not part of your new family. Linda Morrison is apparently the mother figure you prefer, and that's your choice to make. You're an adult, and you have every right to choose who you want in your life. However, if I'm not family enough to be invited to your wedding, then I'm not family enough to provide the dress for it either. If I'm not worthy of being included in the most important day of your life, then I'm not worthy of contributing to it in any way. I've also sold or donated everything else I gave you over the years. The jewelry, the furniture, the books, the clothes, all of it. I've donated the proceeds to various charities, including a scholarship fund for single mothers pursuing nursing degrees. I thought you should know where your inheritance went. The wedding dress went to a young woman named Emily whose mother died of cancer last year. She said wearing it made her feel like her mother was with her on her wedding day. She cried when she tried it on, and she wrote me a beautiful letter thanking me for the gift. I thought you should know that the dress is still fulfilling its purpose. It's just helping a daughter who actually wanted her mother there. This isn't about revenge, sweetheart. It's about self-respect. You taught me that I need to stop giving pieces of myself to people who don't value what I'm offering. You taught me that love isn't enough if it's not reciprocated, that sacrifice isn't meaningful if it's not appreciated. I've spent 34 years putting you first, and I don't regret that. You were worth every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every dollar I didn't spend on myself. But I'm done now. I'm done being taken for granted. I'm done being treated like an obligation instead of a blessing. I love you, and I always will, but I won't be waiting by the phone anymore. I won't be hoping for crumbs of affection from someone who sees me as controlling and overwhelming. I won't be the mother who embarrasses you or brings drama to your perfect new life. When you're ready to have a real conversation about what happened and why you chose to exclude me from your wedding, I'll be here. But I won't be chasing you. I won't be begging for a place in your life. I deserve better than that. I've enclosed a copy of the letter I wrote you when you were 16. The one that was supposed to be opened on your wedding day. I also enclosed a detailed list of everything I've sold or donated, along with the charities that received the proceeds. I thought you should know exactly what you gave up when you decided I wasn't worth including. Love always, Mom. P.S. Your room is empty now. I'm going to turn it into an art studio. I've always wanted to paint, but I never had the time or space. I'm making time now. I'm making space for myself now. I mailed the letter on a Monday. Sarah called on Wednesday, and this time I let it go to voicemail. She called again on Thursday, again on Friday. Each time, I listened to the messages, but I didn't call back. The messages started angry. How could you sell my things? Those were mine. You had no right. Then they turned defensive. You're being ridiculous. You're making this into something it's not. It was just a wedding, Mom. You're acting like I committed some terrible crime. Then, finally, they turned desperate. Mom, please call me back. We need to talk about this. I don't understand why you're being so dramatic. Can we please just talk? On Saturday, she showed up at my house. I watched through the window as she got out of her car, Marcus beside her. She looked tired, her face drawn. She'd lost weight. Good, I thought, and then immediately felt guilty for thinking it. But I didn't open the door. She knocked. Then she rang the doorbell. Then she knocked again, harder. Mom, I know you're in there. Your car is in the driveway. Please, can we just talk? I stood on the other side of the door, my hand on the knob, and I didn't move. Mom, please. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry I didn't invite you to the wedding. I'm sorry I hurt you. Can we please just talk about this? Sorry, such a small word for such a large betrayal. Mom, her voice cracked. Please don't do this. Don't shut me out. I'm your daughter. And there it was. The entitlement. The assumption that being my daughter meant I would always be available, always be forgiving, always be waiting with open arms no matter how badly she treated me. I walked away from the door and went upstairs to my bedroom. I put in earbuds and turned on music, drowning out the sound of her knocking, her pleading, her tears. After an hour, she left. The next day, Linda Morrison called me. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity got the better of me. Margaret, this is Linda. I think we need to talk. Do we? Sarah is devastated. She's been crying for days. You've really hurt her with this stunt of yours. I laughed. I couldn't help it. I've hurt her. That's rich, Linda. You sold her wedding dress out of spite. You got rid of all her belongings. You're refusing to speak to her. What would you call that? I'd call it consequences. Something Sarah apparently isn't familiar with. You're being childish. And you're being a hypocrite. You spent months poisoning my daughter against me, convincing her I was controlling and dramatic, orchestrating a wedding specifically designed to exclude me. And now you're upset that I'm not playing the role of the grateful, forgiving mother. You can't have it both ways, Linda. There was a pause. I don't know what Sarah told you, but Sarah didn't tell me anything. I read your emails. All of them. Every message where you suggested I would bring negative energy to the wedding. Every conversation where you positioned yourself as the better mother figure. Every manipulation designed to push me out of my daughter's life. Another pause, longer this time. You read her emails? I did. And before you accuse me of invading her privacy, let me remind you that she left her laptop at my house. She abandoned it, just like she abandoned our relationship. So yes, I read them, and I saw exactly what you did. I was trying to help her. You were smothering her, Margaret. She needed space to become her own person. Smothering her? I worked 2 jobs to put her through school. I sacrificed everything to give her opportunities I never had. I supported every dream, every goal, every choice she made. How is any of that smothering? You made her feel guilty. Every sacrifice you made, you held over her head. I never. I stopped, taking a deep breath. You know what, Linda? I'm not going to defend myself to you. You don't know me. You don't know what Sarah and I had before you decided to play mother to someone else's daughter. But I'll tell you this, Sarah is going to realize someday what she lost. And when she does, when she needs her real mother, I might not be there anymore. Are you threatening her? I'm stating a fact. I'm 62 years old, Linda. I don't have forever. And I'm not going to spend whatever time I have left begging for scraps of affection from a daughter who sees me as an embarrassment. I deserve better than that. I hung up before she could respond. That evening, my sister Janet came over with wine and takeout. I'm so proud of you, she said, pouring us each a generous glass. What you did took real courage. It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like I'm dying inside. That's because you're grieving. You're grieving the daughter you thought you had, the relationship you thought you'd built. But Maggie, that relationship was one-sided. You were giving everything, and she was taking it for granted. I keep thinking about all the things I could have done differently. Maybe if I'd been less involved, less present. Maybe if I'd dated more, shown her that I had my own life. Stop, Janet interrupted. You're doing exactly what Linda accused you of, taking responsibility for someone else's choices. Sarah chose to exclude you. Sarah chose to believe Linda's poison. Sarah chose to prioritize her new family over the woman who raised her. None of that is your fault. Then why does it hurt so much? Because you loved her. Because you still love her. But Maggie, love isn't enough if it's not reciprocated. And right now, Sarah is showing you exactly how much she values your love. We sat in silence for a while, drinking wine and eating Chinese food straight from the containers. What are you going to do now? Janet finally asked. I'm going to live my life. I'm going to turn Sarah's room into an art studio like I said in the letter. I'm going to take that painting class I've been thinking about for years. I'm going to travel, maybe go to Italy like I've always wanted. I'm going to do all the things I put off because I was too busy being Sarah's mother. Good. It's about time you put yourself first. That was 6 months ago. Sarah and I have spoken twice since then. Brief, awkward conversations where she's tried to rebuild bridges without actually acknowledging what she did wrong. The first conversation happened about a month after I sent the letter. She called, and this time I answered, "Mom, I got your letter." "I assumed you would. I don't understand why you're being so harsh. I made a mistake, okay? I should have invited you to the wedding, but you're acting like I committed some unforgivable sin." "Sarah, you didn't just not invite me. You planned for 8 months to exclude me. You let Linda convince you that I was toxic and controlling. You chose your father, the man who abandoned us, over me. You made me find out about your wedding through Facebook, and then, when I was hurt, you dismissed my feelings as drama." I said I was sorry. "No, you said I made a mistake." That's not the same as being sorry. Being sorry means understanding what you did wrong and why it hurt. It means taking responsibility instead of minimizing. "What do you want from me, Mom? You want me to grovel? You want me to beg for forgiveness?" "I want you to understand what you threw away. I want you to see me as a person, not just a role. I want you to value what I gave you instead of treating it like it was owed to you." "I do value it. I've always valued it." "Then why wasn't I at your wedding, Sarah?" Silence. "That's what I thought. Call me when you have an answer to that question." I hung up. The second conversation was 3 months later. She called to tell me she was pregnant. "I'm going to have a baby, Mom. You're going to be a grandmother." I should have been overjoyed. I should have cried happy tears and asked about due dates and offered to help. But all I felt was a deep, aching sadness. "Congratulations," I said. "Is that all you're going to say?" "What do you want me to say, Sarah?" "I don't know. I thought you'd be excited. I thought this might, I don't know, fix things between us." "A baby isn't going to fix what's broken between us. That's not fair to the baby or to us." "So you're not even going to try? You're going to miss out on your grandchild's life because you're still mad about the wedding?" "I'm not mad, Sarah. I'm hurt. And I'm protecting myself. You've shown me that I can't trust you with my heart. Why would I open myself up to more pain?" "Because I'm your daughter. Because this is your grandchild. And you're Linda's daughter now, too, apparently. I'm sure she'll be a wonderful grandmother." "That's not fair." "None of this is fair, sweetheart. But it's the reality you created." She's invited me to dinner a few times since then, but always with Marcus and Linda present, as if she's afraid to face me alone. I've declined each invitation. I'm not interested in playing happy family with the woman who orchestrated my exclusion. I'm not angry anymore. Anger was exhausting, and I'm too old to carry that weight. But I am different. I've learned the difference between being loving and being a doormat, between being supportive and being taken for granted. I've also learned that sometimes the people we love most are the ones who hurt us deepest, not because they're evil, but because they stop seeing us as whole people with feelings and needs of our own. Sarah saw me as Mom, a role, a function, a given. She forgot I was also Margaret, a woman who deserved respect and consideration. The art studio is finished now. I painted the walls a soft sage green and installed better lighting. I bought an easel, canvases, and more art supplies than I'll probably ever use. And I've been painting. My first piece was a self-portrait, not the young woman I was when I married Sarah's father, but the woman I am now, older, wiser, scarred, but stronger. I painted myself standing alone but not lonely, standing in my own light, casting my own shadow. I've also started volunteering at a support group for parents who've been estranged from their adult children. The first meeting I attended, I was shocked by how many people were there. Dozens of mothers and fathers, all carrying the same wound I carried. We shared our stories. A mother whose son hadn't spoken to her in 5 years because his wife didn't like her. A father whose daughter blamed him for her parents' divorce, even though he'd been the one who stayed. A grandmother who'd never met her grandchildren because of a family feud she didn't fully understand. Each story was different, but the pain was the same: the confusion, the grief, the desperate need to understand what we'd done wrong. The hardest part, one woman said, is that there's no closure. They're not dead, so you can't grieve properly, but they're not in your life either, so you can't move forward. You're just stuck in this limbo, waiting for something that might never come. I understood that feeling intimately, but I also understood something else now. I couldn't control Sarah's choices. I couldn't make her see what she'd thrown away. I couldn't force her to value our relationship or appreciate my sacrifices. All I could control was my own response. And I chose to respond with dignity. I chose to stop waiting by the phone. I chose to stop hoping for crumbs of affection. I chose to stop making myself smaller so she could feel bigger. I chose myself. The wedding dress is hanging in Emily's closet now, waiting for her wedding day next spring. She sends me updates sometimes, photos of her venue, her flowers, her plans. She's asked me to attend the wedding and I've said yes. I'll sit in that church and watch a stranger wear my dress and I'll cry, not for what I lost, but for what Emily has. A mother's love, even if it's borrowed from someone else's mother. The money I raised from selling Sarah's things has helped dozens of other single mothers pursue their dreams. I get letters sometimes from the scholarship recipients, thanking me for making their education possible. Their gratitude fills some of the empty space Sarah left behind. I still love Sarah. I probably always will, but I love myself too, and that's something I'd forgotten how to do. She taught me that lesson, though I don't think she meant to. Sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is showing you exactly who they are. Sarah showed me that she's someone who can be influenced to exclude the people who love her most, someone who values appearances over substance, someone who takes love for granted. But she also showed me that I'm someone who won't accept being treated as disposable. I'm someone who knows her worth, even when others don't see it. I'm someone who can walk away from toxicity, even when it wears the face of the person I love most in the world. Linda Morrison thought she could erase me from Sarah's story, make me disappear from her new life like I never mattered. Sarah thought she could have it both ways, exclude me from her wedding, but keep me available for everything else. They were both wrong. All they did was remind me how much I've always mattered, to myself, if no one else. They reminded me that I'm not just a mother, not just a role to be filled. I'm Margaret Chen, a woman with dreams and talents and value that exists independent of my relationship to anyone else. I'm painting now, I'm traveling, I'm making friends and trying new things and discovering parts of myself I'd buried under decades of motherhood. And if Sarah ever comes back, if she ever truly understands what she lost and wants to rebuild our relationship, I'll be here. But I'll be a different person than the one she left behind. I'll be someone who knows her worth, who demands respect, who won't settle for being taken for granted. I'll be someone who chose herself. And that, I've learned, is the most important choice of all. If this story spoke to your heart, thank you for being here. Tell me, what would you have done in her place? Have you ever had to choose between loving someone and loving yourself? Share your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Your support means everything. Until next time, stay brave, stay kind, and keep your voice.